energy authorities and customs have proven with agencies such as
legislative priorities to combat cybercrime and can draw the conclusion that a nation's legislative priorities in combating cybercrime should not be static. They need to evolve with threat landscape. From our workshop, several key themes emerge that are crucial for ensuring the necessary legal mechanism and tools for the criminal justice system to investigate, prosecute, and adjudicate cybercrime. First, the law must keep pace with technology. Cybercrime involves digital speed, and legislators have a critical responsibility to ensure laws are agile, technology neutral, and time-proof for years to come. This means, 1, adoption of technological neutral definitions, harmonizing with international standards that can pass the time test, aligning with conventions like the Budapest Convention, ensures effective cross-border cooperation and prevent a country from becoming a safe haven for cyber criminals. Secondly, providing law enforcement with necessary legal tools for investigating need to be accompanied by a safeguard for human rights. Fundamental principles such as legality, proportionality, and necessity are a must when adopting cybercrime legislation. Clear and precise legal language and predictability in cybercrime laws build trust, public confidence in the elected representative, and in the state capability and capacity to protect its citizens against abuses. Thirdly, members of Parliament's role is essential in ensuring proper funding for criminal justice authority. Passing the law is essential, but it is only a first step. Members of Parliament must champion budget allocation for specialized cyber unit, forensic tools, and continuous training for judiciary, prosecution, and the police. Lastly, legislators themselves must become cyber literate. Members of Parliament must commit and prioritize their own education to ensure that they can properly translate complex technical threats into actionable legal language and policies. In this regard, the role of organizations such as Parliamentarians for Global Action, the African Parliamentary Network on Internet Governance, and the African School on Internet Governance is essential. They provide a unique platform for knowledge building, peer exchange. Donors and implementers are encouraged to support development of skills for legislators in Africa. This, in a nutshell, this reflection were reached in a workshop that was attended by a cross-section of stakeholders in cybercrime domain. Let me take this opportunity to thank our distinguished panelists for insightful input and to you all for engaging in active discussion. Thank you people very much.
Thank you. A big clap for Honorable Agbo. Yeah, nobody should be left behind. Our legislators should be, our legislators should be at the forefront. We need progressive laws to be able to succeed, to fight cybercrime, and also ensure cyber security and good use of our internet space. The next workshop, which is our 5th workshop, was on impact of artificial intelligence on cybercrime. The rapporteur was Jackson Cheboy, Regional Specialized Officer, Interpol. Over to you, Jackson.
Thank you very much, Secretary Carter. Good morning and welcome to this report on impact of AI on cybercrimes. So the use of AI is not only raising concerns, but also providing opportunities for the criminal justice system if adopted well. So we discussed on the offenses committed by means of AI how the systems can be used, how the AI systems can be used to collect electronic evidence, safeguards of human rights, and the extent of which the conventions, treaties can harmonize our legal frameworks for better collaboration. We had a great panel that comprised of researchers, judges, tech representative, specifically Microsoft, UNODC, and Council of Europe. To summarize, noting the high uptake and the use of AI in all spheres, including cybercrimes, as demonstrated by research, appreciating also the length procedures in developing the legal instruments to govern the use or else abuse of the AI, as mentioned by even the previous moderator. The panelists and the discussants observed that there is the need of innovative ways of having harmonized legal frameworks across Africa for better management of the use of AI. And by extension, this can be achieved by adopting some of the conventions, including Budapest, Malabo, UN, to fast track this process and bring collaborations. Secondly, observing that AI can also be used positively to facilitate investigation and prosecution of cyber criminals, the panel came to a conclusion that there is need to build capacity and capability of the criminal justice actors, not leaving in even one of them. Considering that it's a tripod, all of them need to have that capacity and capability to use AI positively in prosecuting cyber crimes. Third item is the cross-borderness of cyber crimes, and hence also the multiplier effect that AI has brought into commission of cyber crimes across jurisdictions, not respecting the boundaries. So to address that, there is need for collaboration and cooperation to not only prosecute or bring down those criminal operations, but also frameworks to deter the cross-border migration of cybercrimes due to AI from one jurisdiction to another. Cooperation and collaboration. Finally, we got a different perspective on the need to have in our minds the rights-based approach whenever we formulate our frameworks, our operations, to ensure that we safeguard human rights to bring transparency, traceability, and accountability in the use of AI. End of the short summary. A detailed report has been shared with the Secretariat. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson. A big clap for him. Ethical use of AI is very important, and we all need to work towards enforcing and ensuring that it happens. And our next workshop rapporteur, the workshop was on electronic evidence, chain of custody, and admissibility. The rapporteur was Tebogo Tombale Folani, Assistant Secretary for Legislature Drafting, Attorney General Chambers, Botswana. Welcome, Tebogo.
Thank you. Good morning, colleagues. The panelists in workshop 6 were asked to discuss the following issues and experiences from their respective countries. The main challenges in the gathering, presentation, and assessment of electronic evidence, the challenges in the cooperation between investigators, prosecutors, and the judiciary when it comes to dealing with electronic evidence, the challenges in the cross-border gathering of electronic evidence. The speakers were further asked to share their success stories on capacity building, international cooperation, and public-private partnerships or collaborations in their respective countries. They were further asked to share their experiences on any practical improvements that they find would assist their respective countries in the gathering of electronic evidence, chain of custody, authentication of electronic evidence, and the admissibility of electronic evidence in court. From the discussions and interactions by the panelists, there were challenges that were common to the countries represented on the panel, and I'm sure common to most countries represented in this forum. The challenges are as follows. Difficulty in presenting electronic evidence in court proceedings. The issues around this were how is electronic evidence to be procured? How is it to be authenticated? Which evidence will best be proved in court? The other challenge was on extraterritorial jurisdiction. The issues around this was, how do we deal with crimes committed across borders? How is such evidence collected, to be collected across borders? And how is such evidence to be authenticated and therefore meet the criteria for admissibility in court? Another challenge was on the lack of awareness or capacity or experience across the law enforcement sector that electronic evidence nowadays does not just apply to cybercrime, but to all crimes. And the other challenge is the lack of capacity that most times results in law enforcement officials running the risk of trying to subject the same rules in the collection of physical evidence to the collection of electronic evidence. The last challenge was trying to maintain a balance between constitutional or privacy rights and trying to bring alleged offenders to justice by collecting electronic evidence through means such as social media or online messages. From the challenges realized across the countries represented on the panel, there were a few takeaways or recommendations that were proposed. These are, there's a need to reassess how our institutions work together in combating cybercrime and for institutions to stop working in silos. Furthermore, there's a need for rigorous engagement and collaboration across the law enforcement sector. The other key takeaway is training and capacitation across the law enforcement sector. Training should not just focus on one section of the sector or the same people in a particular sector. Countries are further encouraged to undertake more training of trainers to equip and capacitate their law enforcement sector with the right skills and experiences. The other key takeaway was on public awareness, which was taken to be imperative in combating cybercrime. Countries are encouraged to equip their people with the skills and knowledge that as much as they undertake their everyday activities on social media and other online activities, these can have adverse consequences and dangers for them, and sometimes resulting in them committing cyber crimes and thus being subjected to the intrusion of their privacy when law enforcement officials go through their online activities to collect electronic evidence. The other key takeaway was, because of the complexity of collecting electronic evidence for submission in court proceedings, all disciplines across the law enforcement sector should have a clear understanding of the basics in dealing with electronic evidence. Countries are further encouraged to develop standards on the collection and handling of electronic evidence. Countries are further encouraged to benchmark against other countries regionally and internationally in order to develop best practice standards in dealing with electronic evidence. And last but not least, countries are encouraged to enact laws that enforce the idea that all forms of crime are nowadays proven by digital or electronic evidence. Further, countries are encouraged to train all disciplines in the law enforcement sector on how to deal with the chain of custody when dealing with electronic evidence for all crimes, including cyber crimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chibogo. A big clap for her. Collaboration, for us to be able to collect the evidence in the right way so it can be acceptable in our courts. I think we are through with our first round of rapporteurs. Let's give them a big clap. The first 6 workshops. I'll ask them to leave so that we have the second round of our rapporteurs. The other 7. We had 13 workshops, so we are remaining 7 more. They are not so far, just a little bit of patience. They come on stage. Last 2 days have been very productive, and I believe we have photos. Okay, we are ready for the remaining 7 rapporteurs. And to start us off is our 7th workshop on data protection as an enabler for international cooperation on cybercrime. The rapporteur was Meredith Luanga Amia, Senior Legal Officer and Head of Legal Aid Unit, African Court on Human Rights and People's rights. Over to you, Meredith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kimenu. Good morning to all of you. Good morning. Habari za asubuhi. Mnaendeleaje? Okay, sawa. So it's my pleasure to present the summary for workshop 7, which the rapporteur has said was actually on data protection as an enabler for international cooperation. I must say that the delegates in this workshop engaged in a very robust manner and presented interesting perspectives, which I have captured in 7 key points. The first one being that data protection has morphed into a crucial issue for Africa, and there's need to take effective and practical measures to revise existing laws or to enact more comprehensive national data protection laws that take into account the fast evolving technological landscape. And similarly, implementation of these laws must be enhanced. The second point was that was noted is that although about 30 African states have enacted data protection laws, there's still need for the rest of the African countries to do so, while drawing inspiration from the Malabo Protocol and the UN Protocol to ensure consistency of guidelines and principles in order to reduce fragmentation across the continent. It was also noted that there's a need to conduct continental public awareness about data protection laws and to strengthen the capacity independence, and governance of the data protection officers. Another observation that was made by this group of delegates is that in order to mitigate the effects of trans-border flows of data without adequate safeguards, the African states need to have harmonized laws with the aim of enhancing international cross-border collaboration on cybercrime to combat trans-border flows of data. The fifth point is that there was a realization that big tech companies such as Google, Meta Artificial Intelligence, LinkedIn, etc. collate and process consumer data without any regulation of accountability and without the consent of the consumers. Therefore, a recommendation was made to enhance bilateral dialogue with these companies, beginning with in-country offices. The sixth point, last but not least, was a recommendation that national laws should be revised to make the fines stiffer for collection of unconsented data and processing. This would act as a deterrent for companies and individuals engaging in this practice. This was a particular recommendation from Kenya, which was, however, transversal and applies to other countries. And finally, it was noted that there were not many representatives from civil society organizations invited to participate in the workshop. A recommendation was therefore made to include more of them in the next workshop. It was also highly recommended that for meaningful engagement, big tech companies and US lawmakers be invited as key participants for the next Cybercrime Forum. And as I said, this was a very robust workshop, and I was honored to be the rapporteur and hope that I have represented the team diligently. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. A big clap for her. We need to revise our laws and keep them in tandem with the times. Very important, especially our data protection laws. The landscape is changing, and our laws need to follow suit. Our 8th workshop was on cybercrime capacity building, sustainable training. The rapporteur was Stella Apia, Chief State Attorney, Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, Ghana. Welcome, Stella.
Thank you very much. Good morning once again. As stated, workshop 8 looked at cybercrime capacity building and its sustainability. The discussion generally agreed that training was very important, and the main issue was how to make it sustainable. And so we looked at our key point, looked at the content of the training. It was agreed that content of the training must meet up with current trends, and it should also be continuous in nature as cybercrime is fast evolving. Our training should be able to meet up with whatever comes up in the evolving crime scene. We also looked at training the trainers. We need a crop of trainers that will go out and train more people. Like it has been said, every crime is now electronic based, and so we need more trainers and we need more awareness for the general populace to be able to be aware and keep cyber security awareness also ongoing.
Nous nous sommes mis d'accord que les personnes formées ont besoin du mentorat. Un exemple a été cité au cours des débats. Les gens qui reçoivent du mentorat doivent être encouragés à être des cyber-ambassadeurs et doivent fournir la formation aux autres. Pour une formation durable, la formation doit respecter l'éthique. Les modules doivent couvrir les enquêtes qui tiennent en compte l'éthique et les droits des personnes, les droits des humains doivent être pris en compte. Les enquêtes doivent collecter les preuves qui sont recevables au tribunal. C'est inutile de collecter les preuves qui ne peuvent pas être utilisées. On a parlé de l'importance de la collaboration parce que
Collaboration with other countries helped them to also gain training. And so the call out was for countries in such situations who do not have training academies yet to collaborate with other countries who have, to enable them also gain these training experiences. And then we finally looked at training that must be all-inclusive of the stakeholders in the criminal justice sector delivery. We realized that not only the judiciary, which is supposed to be trained, but prosecutors, law enforcement, and the private sector, who we may end up calling as witnesses or expert witnesses in our prosecutions. And so training should encompass all these, and not forgetting the CSOs, as was mentioned a while ago. They are also important stakeholders, and so trainings should also cover them in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A big clap for Stella. Human resource is the biggest differentiator and it's the most difficult to grow. We should always try as much as possible to build capacity and also have enough to be able to defend and to provide and collect evidence and be able to sustain cases in court. Thank you so much, Stella. Our 9th workshop was on international cooperation on cybercrime and electronic evidence, and to be specific, the 2nd protocol to the Budapest Convention on cybercrime. The rapporteur was Jan Kralik, public prosecutor and chair of the Cybercrime Convention Committee, Portugal. Welcome, Jan.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor, and good morning. Allow me to present the main takeaways from Workshop 9 on international cooperation and electronic evidence with a focus on the 2nd additional protocol. It was agreed that the alignment with respective international instruments is essential in fighting cybercrime. No single country can address the complexity of electronic evidence alone. Tools contained in the Budapest Convention and the Hanoi Convention give strong legal basis for cross-border cooperation. 2nd additional protocol to the Budapest Convention provides additional tools for fast, secure, and predictable international cooperation. This protocol also ensures solid human rights, data protection, and rule of law safeguards. Interpol showed us the scale and sophistication of cybercrime in Africa through Operation Serengeti and Contender. These operations proved how global and complex these crimes are. The 2nd additional protocol directly responds to some of these challenges identified. It allows quicker access to subscriber information, clearer cooperation with service providers, and stronger emergency procedures. The measures contained in the 2nd protocol help investigators act faster and protect citizens, businesses, and justice systems. We also heard that reform takes time and must be sequenced. Building strong cybercrime laws and systems requires planning and clear priorities. Sierra Leone's path towards signing of the second protocol showed how steady progress and institutional commitment can create a resilient national framework and prepare the way for ratification. Benin shared insights on what countries need for effective international cooperation. This also includes strong political commitment, updated laws, specialized structures, and better coordination among national bodies. Benin also highlighted enduring challenges. These are presented by delays in obtaining data, different rules from foreign service providers, and the need to protect privacy while also keeping the procedures efficient. The second protocol can help address many of these challenges. Kenya showed that joining the Budapest Convention is a strategic first step. This step strengthens cooperation with service providers and also prepares country for future ratification of the second protocol. Mauritius shared lessons from its long-standing cybercrime and data protection system. Its early laws, specialized unit, and continuous investment make it well prepared to cooperate under the Budapest Convention and later the second protocol. New mutual legal assistance tools under the protocol, such as video conferencing or joint investigation teams, can also help investigations involving electronic evidence in relation to any types of crime. Lastly, the session showed a strong shared commitment to harmonizing laws, building capacity, and improving international cooperation. The second protocol is a key instrument for modern, effective responses to cybercrime. It brings greater clarity and standardized procedures for cross-border access to electronic evidence. Although the implementation takes time, integrating the protocol into domestic law and moving toward ratification should remain priorities of countries. Cybercrime Program Office of the Council of Europe stands ready to support countries through capacity building assistance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Big clap for him. Our 10th workshop is on policies, was on policies and strategies on cybersecurity and cybercrime. The rapporteur is Kyung Min Yoon, Council, Legal, Vice Presidency, Law Advisory and Knowledge Unit, the World Bank. Welcome. I hope I pronounced your name well.
Oh, it was great. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, it gives me great pleasure to report that Workshop 10 demonstrated an encouraging convergence of views on the central question, how do we turn Africa's cybersecurity and cybercrime strategies into real operational strength? We began with the shared recognition that Africa is in the midst of an extraordinary digital acceleration. Mobile money, e-services, and connectivity are expanding with speed. These are not just conveniences, these are engines of inclusion, growth, and opportunity. However, the threat landscape is growing and serious, but not insurmountable. Fraud and online scams remain the most widespread risks. Digital sextortion, increasingly powered by AI-generated content, is rising fast. Ransomware continues to target government services, financial institutions, and critical infrastructure. Yet, the continent is already responding with measurable success. New and updated cybercrime laws, dedicated cyber units and forensics labs, expanding training programs, and high-impact regional operations to arrest, infrastructure takedowns, and the protection of thousands of victims. Our task, and the clear consensus of the room, is to protect and accelerate this progress together. The workshop delivered a practical, forward-looking action agenda with 7 interlocking priorities. First, strategies only deliver results when they become real capacity. That means modern legal frameworks, clear mandates, standardized procedures, and structure partnership with the private sector, especially cloud providers and the financial industry, must now be prioritized so that every agency knows its role and evidence flows seamlessly from detection to courtroom. Second, timely, secure, and structured information sharing must become the backbone of our collective response. Good practices include 24-hour reporting obligations, trusted regional networks, and user-friendly intelligence products that frontline teams can act on immediately. Early warnings, not delayed reaction, is what contains incidents. Third, institutional alignment is essential. CERTs, regulators, law enforcement, prosecutors, financial supervisors, and critical infrastructure operators need harmonized mandates and strong coordinating bridges so that no gap appears in detection, response, or prosecution. Fourth, threat intelligence must move from reactive to genuinely predictive and anticipatory. Large-scale visibility, cross-data correlation, and continuous monitoring, especially of high-risk financial and payment systems and data centers, will allow us to detect weak signals early and prevent compromise. Fifth, cross-sector and cross-border cooperation is no longer optional. Financial institutions like MasterCard, cloud providers like Microsoft, regulators, law enforcement, and private platforms all bridge unique visibility and capability. Delegates called for dedicated points of contact, lawful and proportionate data access procedures, regular operational engagement, and clearer legal pathways that remove today's barriers to rapid coordination. Six, people-centered implementation must be at the heart of everything. People are at the beginning and end of everything. Digital literacy campaigns, child online protection, inclusive industry forums, and strong safeguards for privacy and proportionality must be woven into every initiative if trust and legitimacy are to be maintained. And finally, perhaps the most inspiring insight came repeatedly. Africa has a historic opportunity to leapfrog. The mobile-first architecture that powers the digital economy can, with the right governance, deliver faster detection, stronger authentication, and more agile response than many older systems elsewhere. Colleagues, the Energy in Workshop 10 was unmistakably optimistic and determined. We now have the strategies, but we also need alignment on what must be done. What remains is to act. And on behalf of the World Bank, I commend these conclusions to the plenary. Thank you.
Thank you, Keon. Thank you. Again, cooperation, collaboration, as we create our policies and strategies, very key. Our 11th workshop was on child protection, online and cyber violence, and the rapporteur was Lieutenant General Fatan Jabari from the Ministry of Interior, Tunisia. Lieutenant Colonel, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the floor today. Good morning, everybody, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I address an issue of profound urgency that we discussed yesterday, which is online child sexual abuse and exploitation. During our workshop, our experts examined the evolving risks and emerging trends in online environment, sharing insights from both national and international perspectives. Key discussions focused on improving detection, prevention, and response mechanisms, as well as fostering collaboration between governments, law enforcement, tech companies, and civil society. To begin, let us consider the key facts that define the scope of this issue. As all we know, technology has expanded the scale and speed with which offenders can access, share, and profit from child sexual abuse material. Law enforcement agencies worldwide receive millions of reports from platforms and hotlines, demonstrating the increasing relevance of digital spaces in children's lives. Despite significant progress, legislation in many countries remains unevenly applied. Reporting mechanisms exist, but they are not always widely known or easy to use. These facts compel us to build stronger, more coherent systems that can protect children in real time. However, understanding the facts also reveals several pressing challenges. The first one is putting laws into practice. Many states have modern legislation, yet lack the procedures, resources, or clarity needed to turn legal frameworks into daily action. The second one is the management of massive report volumes. Agencies often receive far more data that they can process. Triage systems, case classification methods, and secure data handling are still insufficient in many jurisdictions. Third one, we face technical and institutional capacity gaps. Digital forensics units are often under-resourced and lack training and tools to respond effectively. Finally, the tactics of offenders evolve rapidly, from encrypted communications to AI-generated materials and live-streamed abuse. Addressing these challenges, no country can face this threat alone. Effective protection requires multi-layered cooperation. The international cooperation is essential. Online abuse is borderless, and timely information sharing through international mechanisms such as Interpol, Europol, and regional task forces is vital for taking offenders and rescuing victims. Also promoting adherence to international law, such as the famous Budapest Convention, Lanzarote Convention, and the Hanoi Convention. Second, cooperation with digital platforms is indispensable. Technology companies play a frontline role in detecting, reporting, and removing harmful content. Their proactive measures, such as automated detection tools, age-appropriate design, and timely data preservations, are critical. Third, cooperation across sectors within each country is equally important. Law enforcement must work closely with child protection agencies, educators, and civil society organizations. Prevention, reporting, investigation, and survivor support must be interconnected parts of a single ecosystem. Finally, cooperation must also include children and families themselves. Their voices help shape safer digital space, and their engagement strengthens the prevention and early detection. Building on this cooperation, we must build robust systems and pursue solutions that are comprehensive, sustainable, and centered on children's rights. The most urgent solutions are, the first one is strengthen and implement legal frameworks. Create clear child-friendly reporting pathways. Build strong investigative and safeguarding capacities. Improve triage and data management systems. Enhance cooperation with industry. And finally, invest in prevention and education. Ladies and gentlemen, protecting children online is not just a legal obligation, it's a moral imperative. By unifying facts, confronting challenges honestly, building strong cooperation, and adopting evidence-based solutions, we can create a digital environment where every child is safe, empowered, and free to live. Thank you.
Thank you. A big clap for Lieutenant Colonel Patton. We must protect the future of our countries, continent, and the world, which is our children. And we must ensure and collaborate and cooperate in ensuring their safety online is guaranteed. It's not a privilege, it's a must-have that they should have. Our second last workshop, that's the 12th workshop, was on ransomware attacks, legislation, prosecution, and investigative tools. The rapporteur was Kevin Kiban, Cybercrime Operations Officer within the Cybercrime Directorate at Interpol. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Secretary Kata. So as you mentioned, this workshop focused on the evolution of ransomware and the challenges faced by all the sectorial partners in the fight against ransomware. Ransomware has evolved beyond encryption-based disruption into a strategy of data-driven extortion, where the true weapon is not locked systems, but stolen data used to inflict reputational, regulatory, and psychological damage. Attackers increasingly target the critical natural infrastructures such as the healthcare sector, education, energy, telecoms, and finance to amplify societal disruption and political stability. The primary weapon is no longer encryption, it is data extortion.
exponentially amplified by AI-driven social engineering and transnational ransomware as a service ecosystems. The key findings of this ransomware evolution are target selection, which reflects leverage, not wealth. Backups are no longer sufficient. Even fully restored, systems remain vulnerable to the reputational harm, media exposure, and secondary blackmail through leaked data. The media is now used as a weapon. AI-enabled social engineering with deepfakes, hyper-personalized phishing campaigns have dramatically increased attack success rates, undermining the human judgment. Another key finding is the systematic gap response. So with chronic underreporting driven by the legal ambiguity and the reputational risk, fragmented coordinated response between the law enforcement officers, the SET community, and the private sectors, weak digital forensics, rapid cryptocurrency laundering, and a jurisdictional complexity that hinder the prosecution process. To mitigate these risks, Africa must transition from reactive incident response to proactive institutionalized cyber resilience. The key pillars will include the national cyber fusion platforms, which will provide secure, real-time sharing on threat intelligence between the private and public sectors, supported by the international organizations like Interpol, Afripol, ITU, and the Africa CERT. Also, creating of the centers of excellence, which will serve as regional hubs for forensic training, ransomware analysis, and simulated attack drills. Standard incident response protocol and legal forms are also very important. To conclude, ransomware is not just a technical threat. It's psychological, social, and media-driven extortion enterprise. Defending against it requires moving beyond IT controls to embrace the legal reform, strategic communications, cross-border collaboration, and threat intelligence focused on data leverage and not just encryption. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. A big clap for Kevin. Our last workshop was on cybercrime and human rights, focusing on the case of the freedom of expression. And the rapporteur was Honorable Justice Batembo Kairo, Court of Appeal of Kenya. Over to you, Honorable Justice.
Thank you very much. The 13th workshop was on the cybercrime and human rights, the case of the freedom of expression. And the aim of the workshop was to discuss how courts address freedom of expression in the regional context, and to share practical examples and generally generate discussion relating to freedom of expression. The distinguished panelists were drawn from regional courts. We had the African Court on Human Rights and African Court on Human and People's Rights that was represented by Meredith Lwanga, the head of legal aid. The European Court of Human Rights was represented by Esther Beseiro, a jurist and legal expert in that court. And we had Mr. Anani Kwakuvi, a senior jurist at the ECOWAS Court of Justice, who represented that court. We had the powerful, also powerful Honorable Grisha, a special rapporteur on freedom of expression and access to information in Africa of the African Commission on Human Rights. And we were moderated by Mr. Jean Kralik, a program manager with the Council of Europe. The main takeaways from the stimulating discussion from that panel, 6 key themes emerged that are crucial for protecting human rights in our increasingly digital world. The first is that we must recognize that freedom of expression remains a cornerstone of societies committed to fundamental rights. At the same time, some cybercrime laws, particularly those that are broadly worded or vague, can inadvertently restrict or impinge on these fundamental rights. Judges often find themselves interpreting such laws, and it is important that they do so in a manner that is consistent and guided by human rights principles. The second takeaway is that the principles of legality a legitimate aim and proportionality are indispensable. Laws must be clear and foreseeable so that citizens and individuals understand what conduct is prohibited. Restrictions on speech, particularly online, should address substantial harm while avoiding unnecessary interference with public debate. Overly broad or vague cybercrime provisions risk criminalization, creating uncertainty for citizens and criminal justice authorities, and underscore the importance of precise, clearly drafted legislation. Third is that context is critical. Judges should consider the nature of the expression, its societal value, the audience, the potential consequences, and the role and influence of the speaker. Political speech presents a spectrum of risks. Statements by politicians challenging government actions or policies often warrant protection to ensure vibrant democratic debate. On the other hand, statements by politicians that may incite violence, hatred, or discrimination carry a greater potential for harm and require careful scrutiny. Expressions by ordinary citizens generally have a more limited societal impact, but they deserve protection under the law, especially when contributing to public debate. Journalists, in any case, must be afforded robust protection given their essential role in informing the public and fostering democratic debate. And judges must always balance protecting freedom of expression with addressing substantial harms. Fourth, alternatives to criminal sanctions should be considered wherever possible. Where harm can be addressed through civil remedies or administrative measures or mediation or content takedowns, these may be more proportionate and less restrictive than criminal penalties, while helping maintain trust in the judiciaries. Fifth, judicial dialogue and shared regional guidance can support consistent and fair interpretation of cybercrime laws. Fundamental principles such as legality, proportionality, and necessity guide freedom of expression across all regions, demonstrating that the challenges and approaches are largely universal. International and regional courts provide authoritative guidance and practical tools to navigate complex cybercrime cases. And abiding by this guidance ensures consistency, fairness, and protection of freedom of expression, helping both courts and lawmakers interpret laws in line with human rights principles. And finally, it is also important for lawmakers to consider these very principles when drafting cybercrime legislation. So clarity, precision, and foreseeability in laws help both the criminal justice authorities and the public, reducing the risk of arbitrary enforcement and supporting the rule of law. In conclusion, the lessons are this. One, that we should apply the laws carefully and within rights-respecting limits. Two, we should protect debate of public interest even when it provokes or offends. And three, we should use criminal sanctions very sparingly. And four, we should consider context, harm, and the role of the speaker, and non-criminal means. And five, we should draw on international, regional, and comparative guidance and encourage clarity in legislation. And by keeping these principles in mind, our courts and lawmakers can navigate the complexities of cybercrime legislation while upholding the fundamental right to freedom of expression. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's give him a clap. And as I call all the rapporteurs to come down for a photo session, I want again to appreciate all of them. It's not easy work. We all appreciate that. Isn't that so? It's not easy work. They have done good work, and these are our takeaways as we leave this workshop, which we should follow up, and this will also be our barometer when we meet at the 4th African Forum. We will be told soon where it will be. So I want to teach you a special way of clapping in Kenya. So that will also be your take-home, and we can revise it during the 4th Forum. For the Kenyans, you know it, makofi ya kilo, 1, 2, 3. Wait, I'll tell you when to start, 1, 2, 3. For France, and as I talk, until I finish with funga, fungua, the way we used to do it. Okay, so let's start. 1, 2, thank you so much. Our 13 rapporteurs for the good work you have done. It's a pleasure. God bless you. Funga, fungua, thank you. Let's come for a photo here. Over to my fellow moderator.
Just 2 words before the picture for colleagues. Many thanks. I mean, this is a reflect of the common work. 2 final considerations. We are going to publish a report with all these elements, with your contributions. And the second, I mean, you will receive that by email. The second one, I think there is always ground for improvement in all activities, in our roles, in our responsibilities, also in the preparation of these workshops. So you will receive by email these contributions and also a survey. So we do take care of these elements for the future to improve with your help. So please keep that in mind, and please reply when you receive that mail. Many thanks.
So, with the international cooperation on cybercrime. It has been an amazing journey with quite insightful discussions and good sharing of best practices, and now it's time to look ahead. It's time to discuss what will be the next steps in this fight against cybercrime. And based on what has been discussed and what has been shared with us during this forum, and thank you very much for all contributions, it's obvious that only through a strategic approach and a sustainable approach we can be efficient in fighting against cybercrime. And again, this session is going to complement the previous one, and by looking ahead to the next steps. And for this session, we are privileged to have high experts coming from different sectors, from justice, IT security, international organizations, law enforcement, and being also cautious about the time constraints. Without any further ado, I would like to invite the Justice Simeon Aliu from Sierra Leone to address the audience.
Once more, may I say good morning to all of you, and to thank you very much for your wonderful participation. We have heard all the speakers. We have had a good lot of deliberations over the days, and a lot has been actually brought in. We all know now the problems with the issues actually we need to tackle in order to have a strong force in the fight against cybercrime in the world all over. And we must note in this fight that cybercrime is an offense, basically which falls under criminal offense. And so in fighting, some of the legislations we have in Africa differ from one to another based on the continent, based on the country where you are coming from. But I am of the view that the general rule regarding criminal offense is that improving these cases, especially in the courtroom, being a judge, I know the proof has to be beyond reasonable doubt and not on the balance of probability. So in doing so, we must ensure that we identify the key problems, the key areas where we have to look at in trying to fight this big fight. From the deliberations of this august body, it is but fitting for one to at least conclude that the following major issues ought to be taken into consideration in this great fight. Firstly, that one which enhances the enhancement to enhance collaboration in the aspect of capacity building on cybercrime. This area, I mean, we must establish, there must be training academies so that states must benefit from each other. Wherein, for example, if a nearby state is about to investigate a crime, but then the technicalities, the policies, or the procedures involved are unknown to that state, it is but fitting for them to share knowledge with the academies or the institutions of other states so that they too can acquire knowledge required for that to happen. Secondly, the creation of public awareness has been an issue throughout the day in our discussions here. We have realized that most states in Africa and the world all over are not that aware of the existence of cyber offenses. So it is a matter of more that we must recommend that there must be public awareness in the states. And this, I believe, will prepare the minds of the citizenry and will get them ready to know what the offense is and how to tackle the offense in terms of trying to solve the issue of cybercrime rates in the respective countries. Also, we are of the view that the training policy and decision makers in those states, of course, we have had them over the days, the policy makers, the problems they do encounter in trying to arrive at decisions. Some of them have different understanding of the cyber offenses and its nature, both at international level and at national level. So we are recommending that the training policy makers must be a matter of must, because they are and also certain decision makers and key legal partakers, legal workers, statesmen who are involved in the legal process must be trained so that they can understand the benefit of acceding and assigning to these treaties, because we have realized over the days that most of the states have not yet taken or concluded in time trying to ensure that they actually take part in these international treaties. They have signed, some have not signed, some are yet to decide, but then they must understand the need, why they should sign and why is it important. So those training facilities must be made available. Also, we are suggesting it is also recommended that we build sustainable models for implementation, which might include train the trainers program, thereby strengthening the capacity of acquired agencies in the fight against cybercrime. Also, the other issue of most important is that of harmonization of the legal frameworks. As I indicated earlier, we have different laws dealing with cybercrime. Yesterday, in some of the discussion, we were discussing this child sexual abuse. The child sexual abuse, I am of the view that in Africa we have different laws dealing with child sexual abuse. In Sierra Leone, for example, we have the act presently which has been just amended. It was done in 2019. It was amended and it has brought in certain requirements that makes corroboration as a matter of must, improving sexual offenses. There are so many states in Africa who haven't got that requirement. In corroboration, we all know, is an independent confirmatory evidence that tends to implicate the accused in a material particular. So if there is no collaboration with regards to an offense relating to child sexual abuse, in Sierra Leone, for example, it will be difficult for the prosecution to secure a conviction. In some states in Africa, I am of the view that this element of proving a criminal case of child sexual abuse may not be present in their legislation. So there is need for countries, there is need for us to to harmonize our legislations. And that is by looking at each and making sure that some of them are at least included in our national legislation so that they can tally with each other. And so in our fight against cyber, we can include them and then we can have them as very good examples so that we can tackle this great fight against child sexual abuse and all offenses committed under cybercrime. I thank you for now.
Thank you very much for your valuable remarks. Just to pick up on 2 points on education. Indeed, this is crucial, and we've been discussing about education for law enforcement, education for judiciary, for magistrates, and the benefits of doing this together. And the second point on policymakers. Indeed, they should be on board. They should understand the impact of cybercrime. They should understand the needs of the professionals. And of course, to make the right decisions in terms of resources and deciding on capacities for the criminal justice authorities to properly fight against cybercrime. Thank you very much. And I would like now to invite the next speaker. Pauline Michard from Kenya, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. My name is Pauline Micharo, Deputy Solicitor General from the Office of the Attorney General. I'm here to give these takeaway recommendations on behalf of the Honorable the Attorney General. And I'm very glad that a team of State Council have been attending this meeting the past 3 days and have kept us briefed on what's been going on. So, the delegates from the African Union Commission, the European Union, and the Council of Europe, judicial officers present, senior government official present, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Cybercrime is evolving on a daily basis and is a global threat and calls for a global response. As we have discussed these past 3 days, we note that it's not a conventional crime, but a complex crime that takes place in a borderless realm of cyberspace. I want to thank Honorable Justice Simeon Aleyu for setting the stage, because I'm going to build on what he's been speaking about. Perpetrators of cybercrime and their victims are located in different regions and continents. Consequently, this will call for all of us for an urgent, modern, dynamic, international collective response to address these crimes. You've seen what he's spoken about, sexual offense and other various forms of offenses. So this Third African Forum has served as a platform to exchange knowledge, and share information regarding the cybercrime. And participants have benefited from sharing the knowledge and experiences necessary to advance the digital economy across the continent during this forum. What has emerged is that most African countries have enacted legislation relating to cybersecurity and cybercrime, and for some countries, this is work in progress. And for Kenya, we have the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, CAP 79C, which has recently been amended. And the object of the act is to provide for offenses relating to computer systems to enable timely and effective detection, prohibition, prevention, response, investigation, and prosecution of computer and cyber crimes, and also to facilitate international mutual cooperation in dealing with cybercrime matters. Of course, Kenya has recently enacted the Virtual Asset Service Providers Act, number 20 of 2025, to provide for the legal framework to license and regulate activities of virtual asset service providers. This law will ensure that those that deal in blockchain and cryptocurrencies activities can be identified and held liable under the law. And I applaud the progress that the Kenyan government has done and other African countries that have also enacted similar legislations. And we hope that other countries that without legislation will work on building and strengthening the legislative aspects to deal with these emerging crimes. Owing to the dynamic nature of cybercrime, as I've said, there is need for countries, and as the Honorable Justice said, to keep reviewing and updating the laws to ensure that they remain relevant. Further, countries need to align their legislations with international and regional standards such as the African Union Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data Protection, Malabo Convention, and the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime. Kenya hasn't yet ratified. I know we had a meeting with the AG yesterday, and I think those are things that will be on her table to consider. And the latest United Nations Convention against Cybercrime, adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations and opened on, I think it was adopted in December 2024, and it's opened for signature. So countries, including Kenya, have to work towards ratification of these instruments. So Kenya has already started, as I've informed you, the process of ratification of the Malabo and Budapest Conventions, and I hope other African countries and countries that have not done so would start the process. The need for international cooperation to combat threats related to cybercrime cannot be overemphasized. International cooperation in cybercrime is crucial for fighting global threats and involves sharing of evidence and mutual legal assistance. There is need for all countries to come together to strengthen this international cooperation aspect in sharing electronic evidence for criminal investigations and prosecutions of cybercrimes. It is imperative that countries improve regional and international cooperation through forums and tools for sharing intelligence and coordinating actions. Fostering partnerships between public and private entities is also essential for better prosecution of cybercrimes. In addition, countries should also promote, and also the Honorable Justice mentioned, should also promote long-term and sustainable capacity building in the fight against cybercrime through supported national structures and action. Considering that cybercrime is a dynamic, there is need for countries to invest resources into capacity building, improving the skills, knowledge, and resources for law enforcement officers, prosecutors, judiciary, cybercrime practitioners through developing and delivering training programs on investigating cybercrime and handling electronic evidence, and strengthening capacity of education institutions to provide these programs on a national level. There's also need to provide specialized training in digital forensics, payment fraud, combating child exploitation online. We call upon the Council of Europe and other development partners to support African countries in these capacity building initiatives. In order to protect the society, there is need to raise a cybersecurity awareness amongst the general public and within organizations to build a better cyber hygiene culture. The public should be educated on how to protect themselves from online threats and how to recognize and report malicious activities. Inculcating a strong cyber hygiene culture through education and training is very key. So in conclusion, I will call upon all stakeholders here to cooperate and support each other in this initiative and to ensure that cybercrime is combated, not only in Africa, but globally. I wish to reiterate that technical assistance in identification, prevention, and awareness are raising legislative reforms on matters, cybercrime and cybersecurity, revamping or review of existing laws, empowering law enforcement agencies, forensic support, data collection, research and analysis on cybercrime are key to fighting this vice. I call upon all countries in Africa to work together to deliver a secure digital space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pauline, for very useful points and takeaways and actions to be further strengthened in the fight against cybercrime. Indeed, resources for increasing knowledge to fight against cybercrime for criminal justice authorities, they are quite relevant, and for that there are resources developed at the international level. A lot has been discussed during the last 2 days on these resources. One example is the Cybox platform of the Council of Europe, which I invite you to take a look and make use of the resources developed, because they follow the international standards. They've been developed based on the knowledge of practitioners. And this is just one example. Of course, there are other resources developed by other institutions, by other partners, and also in strong cooperation with the private sector, which is indeed essential for fighting against cybercrime, also for sharing information and access to electronic evidence. Moving on, the next speaker, Henry Fondanobu, Magistrate, Secretary General to Minister of Justice and Legislation, Benin. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
No, c'est bien. Fine. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. And like you have said, I come from Benin, which is a Francophone country in West Africa. I am the Principal Secretary of the Minister for Justice in Benin, and I am going, thank you, first of all, for giving me the floor in this panel to give you our perspective and our hopes in Benin with regards to the fight against cybercrime. So cybercrime, we know, is no longer a secret to anyone. It is a scourge which is growing very much in Africa with economic, social, and security impact. The discussions of the forum have demonstrated the need for a concerted and sustainable response to fight against this scourge. And to do that, there are some priorities that are coming from our discussions that are strategic in nature, which are linked to harmonization of laws, regional cooperation, and international cooperation in a structured manner, capacity building, and human rights-based approach. So firstly, when it comes to the harmonization of laws, we note that we need to promote the adoption and alignment of national legislations with international standards such as Budapest Convention, the UN Convention, and the different provisions, the ECOWAS provision and the Malabo Convention. We know that all the countries are not at the same level when it comes to adoption or ratification of these different instruments to fight cybercrime. So our discussions here say that we need to work and create synergies so that all countries, both the countries have already ratified and those that have not ratified, to continue to work in that direction. When it comes to regional and international cooperation, which is supposed to be structured, in our opinion, we need to put in place standing mechanisms amongst states and the judiciary, the law enforcement officers, and to promote the fast tracking of the fight and the spontaneous sharing in real time of information and intelligence between member states. We also need to promote bilateral agreements with the non-party states to these international conventions, because we need to bring these states together to fight this and create synergies for an effective response. With regard to capacity building, we think that we need to develop and strengthen continuous training for the judges, for the investigators and other technical experts, so that they can be able to track the evolution of the threats, because without capacity building, without up-to-date skills to wage this war, we cannot go far, because cyber criminals are already one step ahead of us, and we need to do everything to stay on course and ensure that all the efforts that are made we capitalize on them, and then we win the war. With regard to the approach, or the human rights-based approach, we need to guarantee the measures against cybercrime, respect privacy, to protect personal data, and also presumption of innocence, rule of law, and freedom of expression, and principles of proportionality. All these aspects constitute human rights, and the fight against cybercrime must not be a pretext to violate human rights. So we need to integrate them in this fight. With regard to that, we are suggesting a raft of recommendations that range from the strengthening of the African Union, point 24/7 between investigators across borders. We need to develop partnerships with the service providers such as Google, Microsoft, TikTok, etc., because these providers, much as they are the purveyors of cybercrime, they also represent a way of fighting this scourge. We need to intensify partnerships with civil society organizations, particularly universities, or academia, because this war requires research. We need to bring to bear international intellectual tools to fight this war. We also need to integrate cyber security in national development plans, and to mobilize public-private partners for adequate detection and response to incidents, sensitizations and social assistance, and legal assistance also. We also need to ensure sustainable funding for training programs and infrastructure development. To conclude, I would say that the fight against cybercrime is a collective challenge. This war requires coordination, trust, and political commitment. And Africa must moved from ad hoc initiatives and to a regional-wide architecture that is sustainable. I would not end my remarks without thanking here the European Union, Council of Europe, Interpol for their laudable contributions to the effectiveness of this cybercrime war. With that, I thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing these conclusions with us. Indeed, very comprehensive, a lot of relevant points that resulted from our discussions. Indeed, complementarity between Budapest Convention, Malibu Convention, and also Hanoi Convention is crucial for synergies, for implementing the standards, the legislative standards on cybercrime, but also on capacity building, and capacity building with all its elements and addressing all actors, relevant actors. Thank you very much, and the next speaker is my pleasure to invite Pierrette Annie Bitibia, Director of Network and Information System Security at the Ministry of Post and Telecommunication Cameroon, and also apologize if my pronunciation was not correct.
Thank you. It doesn't matter. I will speak in French. Excuse me. So,
it is an honor for me to take the floor at this third African Forum on Cybercrime and Electronic Evidence that we laud, and we thank the efforts and the investments of the organizers, the Kenyan government. So on behalf of the on behalf of the Minister of Post and Telecommunications, who would have loved to be here, and I'm speaking on his behalf, we are thanking you for all the facilities that you have given to our country. Our speech will be in two parts. Firstly, we'll be sharing very briefly the advances made in Cameroon when it comes to the fight against cybercrime, and then we will talk about the major pathways that we should exhaust in our view. Suffice to say that in Cameroon too, we have cybercrime, which is evolving to unprecedented levels with annual losses that are in millions of dollars and new forms of attacks thanks to advanced techniques and thanks to AI. To address this scourge, which is becoming more and more concerning for our country, Cameroon has put in place its national strategy for cybersecurity, which was drafted in 2018, and it is being revised so that we can be able to update it. This strategy is a national reference based on international standards and security standards that undergird our cyberspace. So the fight against cybercrime in its strategy number 3. In this fight against cybercrime, an institutional framework bringing together different authorities, the police, Ministry of Justice, etc., is already in place to ensure the fight is waged in a coordinated manner. We also have operational units on the ground, like the National ICT Agency, which is in charge of this area. Cameroon also has an arsenal, a legal arsenal, which is being improved continuously to ensure that best practices are adhered to. We have, amongst others, the law on cybersecurity and cybercrime, drafted in 2010, which is being revised at the moment. We have also benefited from the support of Council of Europe in this revision process. The 2023 law that is looking at the protection of children online, which is packaged with an action plan for protection of children online, which was also drafted this year, and we are supposed to start implementing it from next year. The law on personal data law is a 2024 law, and it seeks to put in place an authority which will be in charge of personal data protection, without talking about other legal instruments that are already there. The penal code, which supports the fight against cybercrime. We also need to say that there's an SOP for digital investigations, which has already been drafted this year. So the legislative framework in Cameroon is, in our opinion, sufficiently aligned on international best practices that we voluntarily adhere to strengthen our legal arsenal. Cameroon has ratified the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime in 2023. As a party to that convention, therefore, we already have points of contact 24/7 and for the follow-up, and also the preservation of electronic data. Regarding the two additional protocols, we have not finished it. The ratification process of the African Union Convention on Cyber Security and Personal Data Protection is underway. Cameroon has already taken part in negotiations and signature of national conventions, UN conventions on cybercrime. We noting our need to get synergies against online crime, all while strengthening legal and technical cooperation amongst states. We need to say that cybercrime has no borders. All the efforts that we are doing are insufficient for us as Cameroon, which is in a sub-region or in a region which is lagging behind despite all the things that have been done, especially in critical infrastructure and also in terms of cooperation. So we have thought it wise, by way of recommendation, why can't we think about a common strategy modeled on that of the European Union? We need to note that the implementation of these legal documents are not optimal at the national level, because the reactivity of the authorities is not always the case between the administrations. So it goes without saying that those challenges will be there in state-to-state cooperation. We need to share communication and intelligence. We need to put in place common databases when it comes to cybercrimes. We also need to put in place committees or contact groups to reduce the information chain, so that we can get information and data on cybercrime at the national level and also at the international level, and especially in Africa. The prerequisite is, of course, the harmonization of our national laws. When it comes to training, we need to systematize training systems with a gender-sensitive approach, highlighting training of trainers in universities. We need to have cybercrime laboratories to enable young people to take part in the development of appropriate tools to step up our fight against cybercrime, and also to train legal experts on technological means to improve the enforcement of laws. during continuous training, we think that trainers are supposed to integrate modules that have topics on ethics, human rights, because we think that our leaders are supposed to make commitments to safeguard human rights. I will finish my remarks by saying that thankfully initiatives on cybercrime are being increased. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing in the Cameroon's perspective on cybercrime, your efforts on being aligned with the international response to cybercrime and also initiatives at the regional level, and also the emphasis on the legislation, on the need to have a strong regulatory framework, legislation, standard operating procedures, and also data protection, which is indeed crucial, not only in cybercrime, but also in other crimes that involve international cooperation and sharing of personal data. Thank you very much once again, and moving on to the next speaker, Enrique Hernandez Gonzalez, Assistant Director, Cybercrime Operations at Interpol.
Thank you, Virgil. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me here today. My name is Enrique Hernandez Gonzalez. I'm a police officer from Spain, currently serving as the Assistant Director of Cybercrime Operations at Interpol. So although I hope it's not the case, because I can see many familiar faces here in the room, for those who may not know Interpol well, we are the world's largest international police organization with 196 member countries. Our Cybercrime Directorate helps police forces investigate cybercrime, serve intelligence, train officers, and carry out joint operations. We work together every day to make the digital world a safer place for everyone. Before I begin my remarks, I would like to tell you the 4 key messages I hope to leave with you today. These are the 4 areas where we believe real change is possible and necessary. First, we need up-to-date and aligned cybercrime laws all over Africa and beyond. Second, we must strengthen regional and cross-border cooperation. Third, we need to build long-term national capacities. And fourth, we must always put people first. Let me begin with the first point, legal alignment. Cybercrime doesn't stop at borders. If our laws are not aligned, criminals will take advantage of the gaps. That's why Interpol supports strong legal frameworks, both at the regional and the global level. The new United Nations Convention Against Cybercrime is an important step forward. It also includes references to Interpol's capabilities in many sections, such as extradition, mutual legal assistance, the use of secure 24/7 points for cyber matters, and broader international cooperation. Alongside the Malabo and Budapest Conventions, this new instrument can give African countries more tools to build cooperation that fits your legal systems and national priorities. Second, cooperation must be operational. Laws are only useful if we bring them to life through action. As an example, just this year, Interpol coordinated the Operation Serengeti 2.0 with 1,209 arrests across 18 African countries, including Kenya, Cameroon, and Benin. Together, we dismantled more than 11,000 malicious infrastructures and recovered nearly $100 million. These results were only possible because we worked together as a team. Countries sharing intelligence, planning together, and leading investigations on the ground. This is what real cooperation looks like, and we want to do more of it with you. That is why this same week, here in Nairobi, we are also organizing a debrief meeting for the Operation Sentinel, another joint effort targeted ransomware and other high-impact threats across this region. Because cooperation is not a one-time event, it is a way forward, together. Third, building capacity that lasts. At Interpol, we are not here for a single operation. We are here for the long run. Through efforts like the Africa Cybercrime Operations Desk and GLACE-CE, and with the support of partners like the UK FCDO and the Council of Europe, we are helping train officers, share tools, and strengthen national responses. But we cannot do it alone. We need your officers, your expertise, your guidance. Interpol belongs to you. Use our tools, ask for our help, and please consider borrowing us your police officers, because when you do it, the voice of your country saves our global voice. And fourth, a human-based approach. Behind every cybercrime, there is a person who suffers. Someone locked out of their savings. A hospital pushed offline during a critical moment. A person publicly humiliated or threatened on social media. Cybercrime might feel technical, but it is never victimless. We must care for cybercrime victims just as we do for victims of traditional crime. They need to feel safe coming forward, knowing someone will listen, believe them, and then act. This is how we break the cycle of silence and how we gather the information needed to go after the abusers, the fraudsters, the predators. At Interpol's Cybercrime Directorate, we've created a working group called Cybercrime Expert Group, CyberX for short, which brings together global experts to focus also on prevention and the empowerment of victims and survivors. Because when the victims speak, we also get stronger. And when they are heard, justice becomes possible. Before I close, I want to thank the Council of Europe and Kenya. Hosting this forum is not just a logistical effort, it's a public commitment. It shows leadership, and it shows the world that Africa is not just watching from the side, it's leading from the front. In closing, let me say this. The challenges of cybercrime are global, but the solution must be local, regional, and shared. Interpol, along with many of the partners you see in this very panel, is here to support you, but we also need your ideas, your engagement, and your leadership. Let's keep working together. Let's make the digital world safer for us, for every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Enrique, for the strong statement, for being a reliable and a strong partner, not only in operational cooperation, but also capacity building, because you bring your experience in working at the global level, and this is relevant because indeed this is the solution to work together. And now, the last but not the least, the Glenn Precard, Chief Cybercrime and Technology Section, UNODC.
Thank you, Virgil, and good morning, distinguished delegates. Thank you for giving me the floor this morning and having this opportunity to address you. And more importantly, thank you for inviting us to this important forum. As Enrique said, it really demonstrates strong leadership of the Council of Europe, Kenya, and the European Union to incorporate so many partners in such an event. We've heard a lot today and over the last 2 days about the growing and evolving threat cybercrime poses and how technological advances are fueling this threat and, moreover, acting as a force multiplier for all forms of cybercrime being enabled online. We've also heard a lot about the various challenges to prevent and combat these crimes. But underscoring the recognition of the seriousness of this threat, the countries of the world came together in 2024 to adopt an international framework to prevent and combat cybercrime and exchange electronic evidence called the UN Convention Against Cybercrime. While the adoption of this convention is being viewed as a real victory for multilateralism, particularly in a world that's so polarised at the moment, it was such an important milestone to be able to achieve that we reached a common agreement on the way forward in relation to cybercrime. But really, it's just a milestone in the journey, and we really need to be able to reflect and work on what we need to do from here. That important milestone shouldn't be forgotten, but it's really now about what we need to do together to operationalise this convention. The real test is the next step, this operationalising of the UN Convention Against Cybercrime will make us more capable and effective in our responses. There can be no safe havens. We all need common platforms, common strategies, and common legal frameworks to be able to combat this. And I call on all of you to take ownership of this task and to engage in the hard work that we need to do to go ahead to operationalise the treaty. Yes, the UNODC will support, through its capacity building and technical assistance programs, your efforts in achieving this goal. The UNODC knows we are not alone in our efforts to enhance responses to prevent and combat cybercrime globally. We look forward to working even closer with the Council of Europe in their efforts to ensure the Budapest Convention is implemented to support your efforts. More than ever, we must work in partnership in the important endeavour and find and leverage synergies in achieving our joint goals. To this end, UNODC proposes to work even closer with other partners such as Interpol, the World Bank, civil society and the private sector, including the tech companies. No longer can anybody, any country, any organisation do this alone, particularly in the world of cybercrime and electronic evidence. To conclude, we need all of us to pull together in the same direction in our efforts to prevent and combat cybercrime. We now have the solid foundations to build upon, and I call each of you to play your part in building up a sustainable, resilient, inclusive response that respects human rights, the rule of law, and places each of your countries in a position to effectively counter the current and future cybercrime risks, and in turn, help shape a more secure digital future for all. Thank you again, and let's continue to work in partnership in this journey towards these important goals. Thank you, Virgil.
Thank you very much, Glenn, and for our strong cooperation, for these key messages on strong cooperation and continuation, because that is, I think, one of the most key messages, key takeaways that we take from this forum, the need to continue to cooperate and the need to improve our cooperation. I will conclude this session here and invite you to join me on a round of applause for the panelists. And we will follow up with the closing sessions of this forum, with the official closing of this forum. And unfortunately, it's been a bit of a delay, so we need to shorten the coffee break. So maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, more like a technical break. And so please be around. We will resume in 5-10 minutes with the official closing of the forum. Thank you very much for your understanding.
communication and the digital economy, the PS, State Department for Internal Security and National Administration, the President of the Court of Appeal, Kenya, representatives of the European Union and the Council of Europe, abbreviated as NC4, that is at the Secretariat. Sir, I have the honor and humble duty today to be the moderator for this final session, which will also act as our closing ceremony. So as you can be able to see, the room is packed. We have more than 350 delegates from 35 different countries across Africa and across the globe. So we started on Tuesday. We have had a total of 13 workshops with more than 60 keynote speakers, pace setters, moderators, and also discussants. These have been policymakers, industry leaders, practitioners, law enforcement officers, and during the 3 days we've been here, sir, they have brought their wealth of experience and expertise, and indeed, sir, we've been really privileged to be able to host such great minds. So, sir, it's my humble duty to welcome our first speaker, who will also give us an overview of the entire forum. So without further ado, sir, allow me with your permission to welcome Mr. Vigil, who is also the head of operations, Cybercrimes Program Office at the Council of Europe.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak also in the official closing of the African Forum. I would like to start by thanking to the Kenyan authorities for hosting this forum, for the support in the organization, and also for the excellent hospitality. It's been an amazing event that exceeded our expectations. This is due, of course, to the instrumental contribution of each and one and each participant in this forum. You brought really added value and turned the forum into a real platform for building bridges between different countries, between different actors involved in fighting against cybercrime. The topics covered by the forum were acknowledged as most relevant for African countries, but not only, given the complexity of the cybercrime, given the multidisciplinary approach that is needed to tackle cybercrime, and also because we are talking about a transnational problem and also a transversal issue. Besides the most relevant threats that were addressed, like virtual assets, ransomware, online child sexual exploitations, and others. Also topics like international cooperation, interagency cooperation, as well as public-private cooperations were also very much developed during the forum. That is because they are crucial in understanding these global threats, and is crucial for sharing information, for sharing knowledge, and for working in partnership. Another important topic of this forum was the electronic evidence. And for that, challenges to access electronic evidence, especially from other jurisdictions, were highly discussed during different sessions of the forum. There are tools, legal tools, and also technical tools to get access to electronic evidence from different jurisdictions, but they do not necessarily respond to the current needs. Because we are talking about data that is volatile, data that does not stay much in the system, and therefore there is a need to have tools, legal basis to get access quickly to this electronic evidence to move forward in the investigations and prosecutions. Second additional protocol to the Budapest Convention is responding to this need. It has been discussed, explained by different speakers, also practical experience of some countries in implementing second additional protocol was also brought forward. Digitalization, the development of the information technology, they also impact different sectors of societies, but they also come with risks. They also come with more opportunities for criminals and also more crimes and new forms of crimes. Artificial intelligence is present in our daily lives. We need to do more to turn this into an opportunity, a reliable and trusted instrument for criminal justice authorities, not only to facilitate access to these tools, to these actors, but also to have procedures in place for their validation and for making sure that the results obtained by these tools can be used as evidence and accepted in courts. On behalf of the Council of Europe, I want to share with you that we are concerned of these threats. They are part of our global action on cybercrime, not only when it comes to legislation, so approaching this from the legislative perspective, but also when it comes to capacity building that is required by criminal justice authorities. Let me conclude by saying that the forum marked a milestone in the fight against cybercrime in Africa and brought a better picture of the cybercrime landscape, which is very much connected with what is happening at the global level. We saw very well-prepared professionals knowing about the tools, about the legal tools, technical tools, capacities to fight against cybercrime, and you are ready to continue to fight against cybercrime, and you are not alone. We will continue to support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vigil, for that wonderful overview of the proceedings of this great forum. Allow me now to welcome Mr. Matthias, who is the head of Digital Governance and Support Department from the Council of Europe, who has also been the head of delegation. Welcome.
Honorable Minister Kabogo Gitau, Honorable Minister Dr. Omolo, Honorable Minister Jabi, Honorable President of the Court of Appeal Muzinga, Honorable Head of Operations of the Council of Europe Cybercrime Office, dear Virgil, Excellencies, distinguished participants. Africa has made remarkable progress on cybercrime legislation and policy, and now is the moment to consolidate it. We have seen strong advances in legislation, national cyber strategies, and operational capacities. An increasing number of African countries are engaging with the Budapest Convention, with the Malabo Convention, as well as with the new UN Cybercrime Treaty. The way ahead is to align and harmonize these frameworks so that laws, procedures, and safeguards work smoothly together. This is essential for combating a crime that has no borders. We must strengthen operational international cooperation. The tools existing under the Budapest Convention, and especially its second additional protocol, but also under other regional and global mechanisms. What we need is more frequent and trusted use of channels for obtaining electronic evidence, engaging with service providers, and responding rapidly to emergencies. The Council of Europe stands ready to continue supporting African partners in making these mechanisms part of their daily practice. Investment in people is the key to staying ahead of evolving cybercrime threats. I think this is a theme that we have seen throughout the past 3 days at this forum. Ransomware online child sexual exploitation, cryptocurrency-enabled crime, and AI-driven attacks are increasing in scale and sophistication. Digitalization will only continue to develop. Our capacity building must adapt properly. Sustainable, specialized training for judges, prosecutors, investigators, and policymakers must remain a priority. As already said by my colleague, the Council of Europe, together with the European Union and other partners, stands ready to continue expanding our capacity building efforts through projects such as GLACE, CyberSouth Plus, and Octopus to meet these needs. We need deeper cooperation across institutions and sectors. Cybersecurity and cybercrime should be addressed in partnership and through a multidisciplinary approach. This forum has demonstrated the value of bringing together ministries, law enforcement, the judiciary, data protection authorities, the private sector, and civil society. The message is clear: institutionalize this cooperation and build regular channels for sharing information, lessons learned, and operational experience. This forum provides a very good model for collaboration that will continue in the years to come. Security must always go hand in hand with human rights and the rule of law. Our collective efforts must protect not only digital systems, but also people, including their privacy, their freedom of expression, and their democratic participation. Cybercrime legislations must be precise, proportionate, and supported by strong human rights and rule of law safeguards and oversight. Council of Europe instruments such as the Budapest Convention, but also our data protection conventions 108 and 108+, as well as the Council of Europe AI Framework Convention, offer a coherent basis to ensure that digital transformation remains both secure and rights-based. Let me conclude. The Third African Forum on Cybercrime has reaffirmed a strong commitment to build a safer and more resilient digital society on the continent. The Council of Europe, together with the European Union and other international organizations, will continue to stand ready as partners. Together, we can shape a secure digital space where criminals cannot operate with impunity. I would like to congratulate once more the Kenyan authorities for hosting this forum, and of course a big thanks to Virgil and his team and everybody from the Cybercrime Program Office for the hard work that went into this forum. And I should also mention Javier, actually, who was very instrumental in organizing this. And lastly, you, all the participants, for your very strong commitment in this excellent event over the past 3 days in contributing to the international response to cybercrime. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthias. So we were privileged in our midst to have high-level delegation, and just to speak on behalf of all the other delegates, we have our Honorable Minister in charge of the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy from the Gambia. It's now, sir, my single honor to welcome Honorable Amin to be able to address this closing session. Sir, please.
Good morning, Honorable Minister, distinguished guests on the high table, our very special delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It's, should we say to Kenya, our sincere gratitude to Kenya, to all the participants, Council of Europe, for the great work and the value created in the past 3 days in such a beautiful city and in a country with such very pleasant people. We learn that we need a united front against this rising threat in our digital age. We understand that we need to enhance and remodel collaboration as we really embrace these new challenges. We also understand that the need for awareness and capacity building is substantially critical if we have to succeed. It has been an opportunity also for us to understand that there is a need to balance the interests of security and that of the rights of the people as we face these challenges. And we are aware or have been made to understand that size does not matter. Whether you have a population of 10 million, or whether you are like our big brothers in the world from Nigeria, if my door is not secured, Nigeria is not secured. If Nigeria is not secured, Kenya would not be secured. We learn that. We also understand for some of us whose collectible incomes or revenue for the government for every year nowadays is almost 26 to 27% of our collectibles is coming from this sector. We understand that needs to be protected and fought against. So we understand that there will be that need for the infrastructure. We learn it here. That infrastructure basically is on connectivity. And we know, we understand today as well, that Africa needs to really have that regional connectivity. We must be connected through regional ISPs. It's very important. And to conclude and say, it is time we have a united African front against this rising digital age threats. We learn all those things, and we are ready to implement them. And that opportunity was given to us by this forum with the help of the Council of Europe and the participation of everybody, and of course, with the platform given to us by the government of Kenya. And thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir, our chief guest. This great forum, local here in Kenya, was organized by 3 key institutions or agencies. That's the Ministry in charge of Interior and National Administration, the Ministry of Information, Communication, and Digital Economy, and also the Kenya Judicial Academy, who have been a very valuable partner throughout the organization of this event. Therefore, sir, allow me to welcome Honorable Justice Daniel Musinga, who is the President of the Court of Appeal of Kenya.
The Honorable William Kabogo, Cabinet Secretary for Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Raymond Omolo, Principal Secretary, Ministry of Interior and National Administration of Kenya, representatives of the African Union Commission, the European Union, and the Council of Europe, honorable judges, judicial officers, and members of parliament from various countries present, distinguished prosecutors, law enforcers, civil society representatives, international partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. Allow me to make these remarks for and on behalf of the Director General of the Kenya Judiciary Academy, my Lord Justice Smokin Wanjala, who would have wanted to be here, but because of exigencies of duty, he was not able to come. Once again, it is my distinct pleasure to address you as we come to the close of what can only be described as a rigorous, incisive, and deeply enriching 3-day conference. These past 3 days have been marked by rich discussions, transformative dialogue, and clear forward-looking conclusions. We have benefited immensely from the expertise of distinguished speakers drawn from a diversity of countries and organizations, each contributing profound insights into the evolving landscape of cybercrime and electronic evidence. Across the sessions, several recurrent themes have emerged. Some of them include, but are not limited to, the following. 1, the need to strengthen digital forensics and enhance child protection services. 2, the importance of ensuring that human rights remain central in the war against cybercrime. 3, the eternal value of greater coordination and collaboration in cross-border assistance and the associative need for stronger regional and international cooperation in dealing with the menace of cybercrime. 4, the value of investment in the youth and public empowerment and knowledge-building programs. 5, the enduring necessity of building capacity in investigations, prosecution, and adjudication to confront cyber security threats. And next, exploration of the complementarity of international instruments to support and reinforce national legislation. And lastly, but not the least, the importance of prioritizing prevention mechanisms rather than relying solely on reactive measures, and a recognition that the law is always playing catch-up with the evolving tactics of cyber criminals. The discussions at this conference have reinforced the self-evident fact that cybercrime, whether in its sophistry, reach, and effect, is a common adversary. Its capacity to occasion collective harm in our societies is substantial, with the deleterious effect on our economies, politics, and security. With this shared understanding, I am confident that together we can craft a strong and winning strategy, one informed by knowledge, guided by principle, and sustained by partnership. Indeed, the diverse and distinguished composition of the participants reflect this collective commitment. The conversations over the last few days have also reaffirmed the focal role of the judiciary in combating cybercrime. Regardless of whether legislation exists or whether it sufficiently anticipates emerging threats, the public invariably turns to the courts to vindicate rights and uphold justice. This responsibility is profound, and it demands a judiciary equipped with contemporary skills, technological awareness, and unwavering constitutional fidelity. For this reason, the Kenya Judiciary Academy, and indeed the judiciary of Kenya, remains committed to prioritizing forward-looking capacity-building initiatives that protect public interests, uphold citizens' rights, and ensure meaningful justice. In co-hosting this conference, the Kenya Judiciary Academy signals and demonstrates its continuing commitment and desire to support capacity-building initiatives that traverse the country's borders. In this regard, we will continue to collaborate closely with the European Union and the Council of Europe to equip our judges, judicial officers, and other justice actors with the necessary expertise to interpret the law in this new frontier and to handle electronic evidence with competence and confidence. We look forward to expanding these partnerships to include the African Union, the Commonwealth Secretariat, and UNODC, amongst others. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, I extend my sincere gratitude to each and every single participant who attended this conference for your invaluable insights, engagement, and contributions. We look forward to future engagements. I would like to salute the organizing committee, the European Union, Council of Europe, and the government of Kenya for the support and leadership that made this conference such a resounding success. I am proud of the work that the staff of the Kenya Judiciary Academy has put in to make this meeting a success. The full participation of Kenyan judges from all the levels of our courts, as well as judicial officers of various cadres, underlines how seriously the Kenyan judiciary takes this matter. As you prepare to return to your respective countries, I encourage you to take a moment to experience Nairobi, the heart of Africa, and explore the city's vibrant culture, world-class cuisine, and unique attractions. We also invite you to be back again and again. Thank you all for your attention. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice, the President of the Court of Appeal. Our chief guest, our next speaker, is also the chairman of the National Computer and Cybercrime Coordination Committee. And so you'll allow me just a minute before I welcome him to request the organizing committee that worked hand in hand with our principal secretary just to stand up so that we recognize them. I know they've been mentioned in the various speeches. It is always fair just to see the faces behind this event. Please, all the staff, NC4, the various ministries, agencies, KJ8 teams, please stand up. We just acknowledge you. It's a big team, sir, as you can be able to see. Thank you very much. Now it's my single honor to be able to welcome our chair for the NC4, who is also the Principal Secretary, Internal Security and National Administration, Dr. Raymond Omolo, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Colonel, for the warm introductions. Our chief guest, the Honorable Cabinet Secretary for ICT and Digital Economy, the Honorable Kabogo, Excellencies, ministers present, representatives of the European Union and the Council of Europe, members of NC4 who've just been introduced, members of parliament from various jurisdictions, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning once again. Looks like it's been a long 3 days of engagements, but I'm sure there's a lot that we've learned and experienced over the 3 days that we will share going forward. So it's my honor to join you once again, this time representing my Cabinet Secretary in charge of Interior and National Administration, the Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, during this closing ceremony of the third African Forum on Cybercrime and Electronic Evidence here in Nairobi. The Cabinet Secretary's docket requires that the office provide strategic policy and operational leadership in all matters management of cybercrime. This is a responsibility that together with the team at the ministry we continue to discharge. And on behalf of the ministry, we want to thank all our partners and the organizers for choosing Kenya to host this great event. And I hope we can be given another opportunity to do the 4th Africa Forum on Cybercrime and Electronic Evidence. So we welcome you again and again, and I hope that your stay has been pleasant, warm, and fruitful. Distinguished delegates, the 3rd African Forum on Cybercrime and Electronic Evidence has come at a decisive moment in the digital history of our country and continent. We have seen tremendous increase in the use of ICT and related technologies, including provision of government services, to access education, to connect our farmers to markets, to digitize health services, as well as opening new pathways to remote and online work, just to mention a few. However, these developments have brought new national security challenges that require interventions at all levels. And this forum provides an opportunity, or has provided an opportunity, to discuss some of them and also map a way forward. The Kenya's digital transformation has been deliberate, people-centered, and multi-layered. And over the last decade, the government has made investment in national infrastructure, sovereign data capacity, public service digitization, and human capital development. Our Huduma centers and related e-government platforms have consolidated multiple government channels that are interoperable, citizen-centric, as well as allowing us to reduce administrative friction and increase access. Human capital investment is central in our digital transformation and the cyber security journey. And the government has expanded programs that also go into our learning institutions, the various boot camps, incubation hubs, just to mention some of the interventions, including those that are targeted at the youth. The measurable result of these efforts is a larger and more dynamic digital economy, and as we lead in the region and the continent, and we aspire to move further into a first world, which is guided by the great vision of our Excellency President and Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto. However, it's worth noting that the very success of our digitization has also expanded the country's attack surface. The National Computer and Cybercrimes Coordination Committee, our various security and law enforcement agencies, and the Kenya National Computer Incidents Response Team, KISAT, together with the private partners, have dedicated themselves to the noble duty of securing our digital space. And in doing so, they have deterred large volumes of persistent and malicious attacks. And we therefore need to urgently support their effort so that we scale detection, incident response, forensic investigation, and preservation and legal readiness to match the digital adoption and transformation. Distinguished delegates, the social and economic impact of cybercrime are tangible and cut across government, private sector, and households. And for government, attacks and incidences have disrupted service delivery and threatened public trust, as well as impacted government revenue. For the private sector, the financial toll is direct: theft facilitated by fraud and account takeover, ransomware payments, or long recovery process. For households, we have had incidences of child sexual exploitation networks, which are among the most severe crimes. Offenders use encrypted platforms to distribute abusive material and to groom victims. Investigations are resource intensive, require cross-border cooperation to identify perpetrators and hosts, and demand survivor-centered responses that provide protection and rehabilitation for victims. Now, to coordinate a whole of government response, the country has established the National Computer and Cybercrimes Coordination Committee, the NC4, which is a multi-agency mechanism with a clear strategic and operational mandate. NC4 is tasked with harmonizing national policy implementation, prioritizing critical infrastructure protection, coordinating detection, as well as response. The membership of NC4 is deliberately cross-sectoral, and we have already introduced some of the members of this important institution. As a country, we have made significant regulatory milestones, including the mandatory establishment of cybersecurity operations centers, the SOCs, under the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Regulations of 2024. These SOCs are a linchpin of prevention, detection, and coordinated response. And by requiring critical sectors to establish SOCs with standardized logging, incident triage, and reporting capabilities, we ensure that incidents are detected in formats that facilitate forensic investigation, preservation, and subsequent legal actions. Now, these different sectors cut across, whether it's with the financial sector, the energy sector, the banking sector, as well as the judiciary. Now, even with all these critical gaps still persist, we have limited forensic capabilities, and the existing capabilities are just concentrated in major urban centers and does not reach smaller jurisdictions equitably. Mutual legal assistance remains slow in many bilateral relations, and delay routinely erode preservation windows and thwart prosecution. And this is where the multilateral instruments come to bear. The Budapest Convention on Cybercrime is a pragmatic, operational, multilateral instrument that harmonizes substantive offenses, provides procedural tools for preservation and production of electronic evidence that facilitates cross-border cooperation among state parties. It offers concrete mechanisms, including preservation orders, mutual legal assistance channels, and framework for direct cooperation with service providers. Kenya also recognizes the complementarity of other regional and international instruments, such as the AU Malabo Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data Protection and the United Nations Cybercrimes Convention. And efforts to accede to the same are ongoing. The ascension to these instruments is ongoing and will reduce legal uncertainty as it improves access to critical evidence. Distinguished delegates, the Third African Forum on Cybercrime and Electronic Evidence is therefore strategically aligned with Kenya's national security objectives. It is a timely platform to re-energize the war against cybercrime. I believe the deliberations that have been made over the last 3 days have been candid and fruitful. Please note that the urgency of operational response cannot override human rights, and therefore preservation and expedited disclosure mechanisms must operate within robust judicial oversight frameworks and independent oversight. And the legitimacy of our enforcement agenda depends on our commitment to uphold civil liberties, even as we pursue criminals within the cyberspace. In closing, Kenya will continue to act. We stand together with the Council of Europe, the European Union, and our African brothers to enhance our cybersecurity and cybercrime capacity and capability so that we minimize cybercrime, we protect our critical information infrastructure, review our legal and regulatory framework, as well as establish lasting partnerships and collaborations for a secure digital space for our nations and the generations to come. Thank you, and as we come to the close of this conference, receive best wishes from my minister and the entire team that has put this together. God bless you, and with those many remarks, allow me in a special way, with all humility, to ask that we be upstanding as we invite our chief guest to give us his closing remarks. Karibu, Waziri.
Thank you. We may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Don't look at your watch. Mine says afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I had prepared knowing that my boss would be here, but because of AI, I have quickly managed to do a couple of things to make sure that I realign myself with the situation that is here this morning. Judges, friends, peers, and all delegates, I'm happy to be here this morning. And allow me, I will spend just about an hour. And allow me if I sound repetitive, because with AI, anything is possible. The only people who are a little bit unfortunate are lecturers, tutors, teachers, because they are having a hard time in school these days. You cannot, they've enjoyed all their life by pretending to know a lot and saying many things. But these days you tell students anything and they are up in arms with you because AI is quite ahead. So I want to say that AI is good if it's used for good. It also makes us look equally clever, because if you listen to those who are before me and when you listen to me, you will think we were reading from the same page. It's working sometimes. So distinguished ministers, heads of delegations, honorable judges, representatives of partner organizations, and all delegates present. Kenya is honored to host the third African Forum on Cybercrime and Electronic Evidence. Allow me to begin by appreciating the Council of Europe, the European Union, SC4, the Judiciary, Ministry of Interior, and Ministry of ICT, and all government representatives and stakeholders for the strong engagement and the high-quality discussions that have taken place over the past 2 days. And by the way, I wanted to be here, and I was told the type of haircut I have is not allowed here, and I said, it's okay. But I told the person who said that to me that it's not my choice. My barber is different from his barber, because mine lives in heaven. And anyway. This forum represents a continuation of a journey that began in 2018 at the African Forum in Addis Ababa, where the continent established a shared understanding of cybercrime threats and the legal gaps that needed to be addressed. The second forum was in 2021, which reviewed progress and strengthened cooperation in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, at this third forum, our focus has shifted decisively to emerging threats, electronic evidence, and operational cooperation, reflecting the rapid evolution of Africa's digital environment. Over the past 2 days, the conversations here have moved from defining the problem to designing practical, workable solutions. Delegates have engaged deeply on cybercrime legislation and international standards, illicit financial flows and virtual assets, electronic evidence and digital forensics, trusted cross-border cooperation, and the emerging risk posed by ransomware and AI-enabled crime. These discussions reinforce a reality we all recognize. As African nations continue to digitize government services, financial systems, and public infrastructure, cybercrime has become a central concern of national security, economic stability, and public trust. Kenya's own experience mirrors this continental trend. It is for this reason that Kenya has undertaken significant policy and institutional reforms. In the current year, we amended the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act to modernize our legal framework and respond to new forms of digital harm, including identity theft, virtual assets fraud, cyber-enabled financial crime, and harmful online behavior. This amendment strengthened digital safety, support judicial oversight, and reinforce due process, ensuring that cybersecurity respect constitutional freedoms while protecting citizens. In addition, the government is moving forward with the establishment of the National Cybersecurity Agency. This authority will serve as Kenya's central coordinating institution for cybersecurity, setting standards, enforcing compliance, strengthening national computer emergency response teams, and integrating operational responses across all ministries and sectors. At the international level, our cabinet has approved Kenya's accession to the Budapest Convention, a major step that aligns our investigative and cooperative procedures with leading global standards and enhances our ability to collaborate with other nations, including access to 24/7 network for cyber investigations. The Cabinet has equally approved accession to Convention 108+, recognizing that strong data protection is foundational to trusted digital services and effective international cooperation. These decisions position Kenya to contribute meaningfully to Africa's collective cybersecurity posture and to adopt interoperable rights-based approaches aligned with continental aspirations. From the discussions at this forum, several clear continental priorities have emerged: harmonized and modern cybercrime laws, stronger computer emergency response teams, forensic labs, and investigative capacity, deeper public-private cooperation with telecoms, cloud service providers, and financial platforms, and enhanced protection for children and vulnerable groups in the digital environment. We must also acknowledge that while digital transformation drives economic opportunity, it also deepens our shared exposure to cyber threats. No African country can effectively confront these threats alone. Cooperation, capacity building, and interoperable frameworks remain the backbone of a resilient continental response. As we enter the final session of this forum, I wish to reaffirm Kenya's commitment to supporting Africa's cybersecurity advancement and to working with our partners to ensure that our digital future is safe, trusted, and inclusive. With these remarks, and with the appreciation of the strong collaboration with the Minister of Interior on national security matters, I would have said, allow me to invite the Honorable Murkomen, but he has already given his speech. So with those few remarks, I think my hour is over. Thank you very much indeed. And karibuni, welcome to Kenya. I have been asked by my president, my boss, the Honorable Dr. Samoei William Ruto, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, to say jambo to you. If I don't do that, I may not have my job. So how many have heard the jambo of our president? Please take time after this, enjoy our hospitality in terms of even the animals that we have in Nairobi, It is the only city in the world where you will find animals 3 or 4 kilometers from the city center. So make sure that you enjoy Kenya, and those that can visit the Mara, we have beautiful animals in the Mara. Karibuni Kenya, hakuna matata. Thank you.
The Cabinet Secretary will come to officially declare the forum closed.
I told you this happens, but AI misses some things because, because our data centers anyway, allow me at this juncture to declare the 3rd African Forum on Cybercrime officially closed.
Thank you, sir. My panelist, I was your moderator. So we will stand in front for a photo of all the presenters and speakers. Then we shall be able to walk out. As we walk out, all the delegates, please let's remain on our seats so that we allow our presenters to, our chief guest to walk out. So we'll do one photo. Yes, sir. I don't know if the moderator is allowed in. I'm told the senator from Nigeria to join. The senator, Honorable Senator.
Lunch is ready for everyone at the room, at the restaurant.